Okay, so we need to return as the last thing. We have to say return. What are we returning? We are returning our age comment that has been determined by the conditions. So we just say return age comment, and we terminate that. So before we can execute, I just want to clarify on the way the program is set out. We have our if. Okay, we have our if. So we are saying that the if, oh, this is part of the body of the function. You can see that it is all starting on the same or at the same lane, okay, or at the same level. And then since if is a structure which could have one or more lines, I decide, this is a personal preference, and to make my work readable, to indent to show that, okay, this line is part of this if structure and this one is part of the else part. Okay, and then my return is not in any of these, so I just have to put it outside the if. Actually, I've forgotten one thing here. Since we don't have brackets, we have to indicate the end of the if by saying that end if. So I have my if body starting from here and it has ended from here with the else if. Okay, or if and else. If I have multiple ifs whereby I have if else, if else, if else, I can just go ahead and then I apply all, and then I just end at the after the else. Okay, and then my return just come in there after my if has ended. So I can go ahead and execute this. If I don't have any errors, it will just execute fine. So it is executing and I didn't get any errors. Otherwise, something would have popped up here if there was any error. So now when I refresh here, since this is a new function, I expect to see something. So I have age category, which is the function that I just created. And for me to test this to see how it returns these comments. So because this is the editor for a function, I cannot write select statements here to execute because I don't have a result option down here. So I just have to come back to my result set. Okay, and just below, just okay. Here I want to call my function. So select. So the function name is fn age category. Okay, so it takes one parameter, that is the age parameter. So for now, we can just say, we can just provide an arbitrary value of age. Maybe we say 15. Sorry, we say 15. So since 15 is a number, we don't need to put quotes. We just put a value there. Then we can just say as comment. Okay, just is to remove that. So when I execute that, because of 15, it gives me young. And if I say this is 25 and I execute, it gives me adult. So my function returns a comment depending on the age value using the if structure or the conditional structure of the if that we have just written in here. So this is how we use ifs in SQL. First, we just have the keyword if, just like we've always been having. Then our condition without any brackets. Then this keyword is a must. Every time you have a condition, okay, we have to use the then keyword, and then the statement. So here it could only be one statement or it could be multiple statements depending on what we are doing. And then we have our else and the statements to be executed if the condition is false. And then at the end of the if, we have to indicate that this is where our if ends. Otherwise, it will give us an error, assuming that all this is still under the if structure. And then as a rule for functions, we have to return a value. Depending on what we are doing, we are returning our comment. Okay, so basically that's what you have done. And in case we have multiple ifs, when we get to multiple ifs is when we have more than 3 options. So here we only had 2 options. If either someone is an adult or is young. So in this case of 2 options, we just need one if structure, and that is the if else. But in case we want to categorize further, whereby we say, okay, we need categories of people who are below 15 years, and then a category of people who are below 18 years, and then a category of people who are above 18, and maybe who are above 30, okay, and we have different categories for all those age brackets. So in that case, we have to create a multiple if. So if I can just use this section down here to add a comment, I don't know what I told you, we can add comments here again by starting with a pound symbol or the hash symbol. So we are saying that below 15, we say that this is a child. Okay, we categorize them as child, and then between 15 to 18, okay, to 17. These I can say these what can we put here? Okay, teenager, and then so 18 to 25, okay, to 30, okay, to 29. So these ones are going to be categorized as adults. Okay, let's say youth, and then so 30 plus. Okay, whoever is above 30, these ones will be categorized as adults. Okay, so these are just comments. They won't affect my function, even if whether they are there or not, they are just comments. They won't have any effect. So if we have to implement this with 4 options, this kind of structure won't help us. We need a multiple if, whereby we have to check for if someone is above 30. If I start from down, I say if someone is 30 and above, we say this is an adult. And then for me to test for a youth, I need to have the else if structure. So I can just come here and I say else if. So take note here, the word else if is one word. There is no space. When you put a space, the SQL server will assume that these are 2 things that you're trying to do on the same line, which it won't understand, and it will give you an error. So it has to be one word. And once we have the if, then we need to have a condition and then the then keyword. So we can say else if our age value is greater than or equal to I think 18. Okay, 18. So since we have a function there, then the then keyword is a must, and we want to say these are teenagers. Teenager. And then since we have 2 more options, so before we end our if, I just add another one and I say else if. Okay, so since I have an if, I have to put a condition. So if our age is greater than or equal to 15, okay, greater than or equal to 15. So since we have a condition there, we need to have the then keyword. And then what should we do? We want to set our age comment to what am I doing? This is supposed to be youth. Okay, PC is what happened? It's just getting okay. So this is supposed to be youth, not teenager. So this is supposed to be teenager here. Then since we have tested for all these 3, meaning that if someone is not above 30 and it's not above 18 and 15, then automatically he's below 15. So we can just use else, use the else, and then we just say set age comment to child. Okay, child. So we close our if, and then the return statement remains. So when I execute this, okay, I have an error. It is telling me to use near else. Okay, so near else, this is where the problem is. And when you look here, I didn't terminate. Okay, so it has executed fine. Okay, but my point here is we have a an else, a multiple if structure. What we mean by multiple if, we have so many ifs that we're checking for. This condition, this one, and this one. Okay, those three. So you can just come back here and we provide. So if you're maintaining this, let us see the comment. So this is the youth. So if we put 5, then we have a child. If I put 35, then that is an adult. So all options are provided for depending on the value of age. Okay, so that is for multiple if, and we can as well have nested ifs. Okay, we can as well have nested ifs within our SQL functions or procedures. By the way, I want to mention this, that all these things that we are learning here about a function, things like parameters, how to declare variables, the ifs, okay, all these we apply them the same way in procedures. The only thing that we don't add are this, the returns, and then the return comment, the return statement here. Those are the only things that we can't add in a procedure. So when time comes for procedure, we won't be repeating all this. We shall just be using them because we have already learned about them. Okay, so if I'm to go ahead and use this example, what can I add here for a multiple if, for a nested if? Okay, let me just since time is becoming longer, let us look at the nested if in another recording.